Hi guys, how are you doing today? So this video is going to be a review on the Colourpop new brush set. I was pretty excited for when it came out, but at first I was hesitant on buying it because originally it was like $76 or something like that. But they did bring the price down to $50, and then if you use a coupon code, if you sign up with an email, then you can get a like specialized one. Or I used Boxy 5 worked whenever I checked out, and that gets you another $5 off, which makes them $45 for the entire set, which I believe there's 12 brushes, so it broke down to $3.75 per brush, which is not bad at all for Colourpop. And just from first impressions and touching them, they are extremely soft, but they don't have a lot of heaviness to them. The actual handle, like, it doesn't feel expensive, but it also doesn't feel cheap, so it's kind of in the middle, which makes sense considering the price point. So the brushes themselves had a white ferrule, and it says Colourpop on them. They do not have numbers, they don't have names, which really stinks because as a like YouTuber, it's just more convenient to have the names, especially when I'm writing on my videos and I just do like a little brush name right here. It'd be more convenient to have a name, but what can you do? And then the actual brushes are black going into white. This one's a little dirty now, obviously, because I used them, but that is what it looks like. They also released brushes originally, and they were much cuter in my opinion. I'm so sad that they decided to go with white instead of pink, because this was the original brush that they did. This is their blending brush, and I just think these ones are so much cuter, but I'm like a Colourpop addict, so I had to get them. I feel like they have a good range of face brushes and eye brushes, and overall I do like this set, but I'm also not like blown away, and I'm not like, you need to go out, you need to buy this now. I definitely don't feel like that. If you get it, it'll work for you, and you can obviously use them and make them work. And I do really like the eye brushes for the Colourpop Super Shock Shadows, which here's one that I used. It's so beautiful, but these just work kind of funny with some brushes. They don't always play well with them, so I feel like the brushes that Colourpop has put out works well with the Super Shock Shadows, which is all that I used for my eyeshadow look today. So I did film my look, and I'm going to be inserting clips as I go along, so if it's kind of all over, that's why. It's not like a tutorial. I just wanted to show you each brush in action as I talk about them, so let's get started. The first brush that I used is this one. It's kind of like a large flat shader brush, and this one was actually really nice. You guys can see when I applied it, it actually looked like I was applying like concealer on my lid because it applied the eyeshadow so opaquely. It did like a really nice all over sweep, and it worked perfect, and it worked great with the Super Shock Shadows, and I'm sure it would work great with a regular shadow too. So I find this brush very usable and very nice. The next brush is a blending brush, and this is just like a fluffy, you know, everyone has one like this type of brush. And I mean, this brush works, but I'm also not super impressed by it because I feel like with the Super Shock Shadow formula, you definitely need it to be a little bit more dense in order to get it to blend. I feel like the blend on my eyes right here is not perfect. Like if I was using a different type of shadow, like I feel like this would work great with powder shadows. So this brush is good for like powders, but not Super Shock. I mean, it works okay. It gives an all over like transition shade fine, but for actually blending out the crease and stuff, it's just not my favorite. The next brush that I use is this one. It is another fluffy brush. This is kind of like MAC 217, Sigma E25. Everyone has a brush like this too. It's just like fluffy but kind of dense. I don't know how to describe it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So here is this brush, and they actually have released this one in the past. I have two of them. So those are all the same. The bristles on the original ones are just slightly different. They're more, I don't know, they feel less synthetic, honestly. Originals are just a little bit better, honestly. But yes, so I just used this to blend an eyeshadow out into my outer V and into my crease, and it worked all right. It was good. It definitely gives you a lot of color payoff, and it works well with the Super Shock Shadows. So I like this one. It's good, it does its job. The next brush is a just smaller flat shader brush, and this is one that I would recommend the most out of the whole set because this works perfect with the Super Shock Shadow formula for just an all over your lid type shade, which I know like most people do like their finger for the Super Shock Shadows, but this is really, really great. It does beautiful pigment. You guys can see how pretty my inner lid is, and that's what I used with this. So I highly recommend this brush. It's super nice. It just works perfect for its job. It works perfect for these shadows. I also ended up using my color switch just to get the excess product off of this brush, and then I used it to highlight my inner corners, which worked perfectly. And I also have two other ones of these because they released them again originally. This is one of the original brushes, and they're actually, these two are actually both dirty, so you guys can see that I get a lot of love for this type of brush, especially considering how many brushes I have. I highly recommend these ones. Next is their little flat eyeliner brush, and I have to say I really, really love this one. I actually forgot how much I love this one because this is the last other brush that they released originally, and this is so good. My wings might not be perfectly even because I just didn't feel like messing with them. I didn't have the time, but like if you see how sharp my wing is, like for me to do that without tape or without concealer or without fixing anything up is like a miracle. So these are really, really good. I recommend them. They're great for liner. The last eye brush in the set is their pencil brush. It just looks like this, and I actually really enjoyed this one also. It's so good for getting underneath the lower lash line, and it kind of blends it out, and it just looks really, really nice. And it's denser and it's bigger, but it has like a little point, so it really gets right up in there. So I do recommend this brush also. Next I use the highlighting brush, and I actually use this first to set underneath my eyes, just because it's the perfect shape for that, and I would say it works, but I wish it was a little more fluffy in terms of setting underneath the eyes, so I probably won't use it for that again. But I also went ahead and used it as highlighter on top of a cream highlight, just to like add powder on top because I wanted it to be more intense, and it works perfectly for highlighter. So it's an overall good brush, and I don't have anything against it, but I'm also not like wowed by it. Next is their all over powder brush, and I did use this to set my face today as a powder brush, but honestly I feel like it's not fluffy enough. Like you guys can see how little it is. I prefer like a bigger fluffy brush just to get an all over powder because I do have dry skin. So if you're one of those people who really packs powder on and you're like sitting there doing this, then maybe this brush will be better for you. But in the future I would probably just use it for like bronzer. I think would be really nice for a great all over bronze. The next brush is this little flat stippling brush, and I did enjoy it. It worked out for me. I used it first to bronze my face, and I just used a cream contour, and I built it up with this, and it blended out and it worked okay, but I wouldn't say I love the finish just because it is very specific. I was just trying to use every single brush in this set for different things, which is why I use this for cream bronzer. I think in the future I probably wouldn't, just because I like more all over bronze and not so much of a like contour. This was okay for that, and then I went ahead and used it for blush, and again it worked all right. I feel like this brush is nice, and I feel like there's something I could use it for, maybe concealer. I don't know, I feel like I will find a use for this, but I haven't found like what I love it for yet. But I mean, it is kind of a unique brush. You don't see this in every single brush set like some of these other brushes. Next brush is this little like smaller powder brush, and I use this just for bronzer, just to go over the cream. I went with powder just for the heck of it, just to use it and try it out. And I would say that there's nothing wrong with this brush, but I feel like I have this brush like 12 times over. Like there's literally nothing unique about this brush at all, like at all. Next I have this kind of like contour brush. I know a lot of people like this for contour, and I do occasionally, but this is the type of brush I always use for blush, so that's what I used it for, and it worked fine. But it's not my favorite just because it's not fluffy enough. I love the Morphe E4, and I love the It Cosmetics blush brush because they're way fluffier and bigger, and that just works better for blush for me. But it did work, and I think because of the size, it would be good for contour, or even setting underneath your eyes. Honestly, you could use it for that. Again, not a unique brush, and I have this like a million times over, but I find more uses for this brush than the previous one. Last but not least is the fan brush, and I did enjoy this one. It worked pretty well for my cream highlight. I used Colourpop Lunch Money, my like all-time favorite highlight from them, and it did its job. It gave me a nice natural glow, and I think this would be even better if you have liquid highlighter. This would be so nice. Like, it just seems like the material is perfect for creams. So I know this isn't everyone's favorite brush, but I personally really enjoyed it, and I think it's a little bit more on the unique side, so I would recommend this one. Which is the entire Colourpop brush set. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.